B6E could be a really weird bumper sticker life motto or a really strange thing to say to a person at the start, or it could be one of Mahindra's finest SUVs yet, because this is what the B6E is. It's an electric SUV that's bigger than a Hyundai Creta and has a starting price under 20 lakh rupees. There is a lot of technology underneath and a lot to talk about. So let's see what it's about. And to simplify things, we're splitting the video into two segments. Hardware, which will cover what it's like to drive, the build quality and more, and the software. But first, let's talk about that driving bit. First impressions of the Mahindra B6E, we've literally just started driving. Just for reference, on Eco mode or the range mode, 316 kilometers of range with 64% battery. It's got a fantastic interior. This sort of halo effect around the driver, the ambient lighting, this pull to open door tabs, they're really nice. In terms of just the interior and the experience and just how different it feels, to me the B6E is actually even more impressive than the XEV9E, because the XEV9E has some of the controls from the XUV700 versus this is almost completely different. It feels really impressive. These controls on top, the screen layout, it all feels very nice. Steering is very progressive, very easy to figure out the dimensions of the car. Quick acceleration, already up to 100, nice long corner coming as well. Ventilated seat button is down here in the bottom, like how it is on some Tata cars. I don't like it. You need to figure out where the button is and you don't know if you're pressing the right button, and I don't like it. The other alternative is to do it on the screen, which I think is equally bad. We've been hammering this car because it is so much fun to drive in terms of the seating position, in terms of how the cockpit is designed, in terms of the darker materials. Translating into a sportier cabin has also translated into a much sportier driving experience. Because it's just a little bit stiffer, it's more compact, you really feel like driving this thing fast, and it holds your hand and it plays along. It's a really nice car to drive. Even if you drive like a lunatic, and even if you drive only on the everyday mode or only on race mode, you should still easily be able to get above 400 kilometers on this 79 kilowatt hour variant. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're at MSPT at the high-speed test track, doing 150 now, and we're banked and it's solid, it's planted. We're going to floor it for the straight, go up to 175, 180, 190, 195, and that's 202, which is very impressive. Of course, it is very stable. This is Mahindra's test track, so I don't expect it to not be stable. Okay, final bit about hardware is how this thing looks and what the interior space is like. So let's first talk about the looks. I'm sure you've seen plenty of walkarounds of this thing already on the internet, so I'm not going to waste your time and walk through every little bit of the design details. My favorite bit is this. It's like a aero duct kind of thing that has like a gap here, and it looks really cool. Very short overhangs, which again gives it a very athletic appeal. You have these flared arches. I would say this is one of the best designed production SUVs on the market today. Down the side again, you have these stickers around the car. So this one says INGLO Electric Origin. Because they're stickers, I would take them off because they're a bit tacky. I mean, it's already pretty loud in terms of design. It doesn't need more stickers to make it loud. Moving around to the back, two things I love. One is this double spoiler situation. Very impressive to look at in person, especially that gap that they've made through it. very nice. And this diffuser that's sort of picked up, it looks very Aston Martin Vantage. I'll quickly show you the boot. Compared to the XEV90, it's a much smaller boot. This is about 440 litre. You do get some under storage here to put your cables and stuff. The frunk only opens this part of the hood because of course this part is the aero element, so it doesn't open. I was going to make another supercar reference, but I'll leave that out, but I think it looks great. 40 litre frunk. Again, this is actually the perfect place for your charging cables and just other knickknacks that you don't want to crowd your main boot with, especially with limited space. It's nice to have a little extra space here as well. I think that's pretty good. Okay, let's move inside. Hardware in the cabin of the B6E. Firstly, the design gets a solid 9 on 10 for me. There's also these aeroplane style toggles up here on the roof inspired by fighter jets. The gear selector is also inspired by fighter jets, and it has a similar problem to the one on the XEV where there's no button. So again, you have to do 2 clicks to go into drive and then 2 clicks to go into reverse, and then you have to press the button to go into park. So they've given a button here, but that button is for park, which is strange. So I just found, intuitively, I just found myself pressing the button and pulling it back, and that just does nothing. I feel that the design is there, but some functionality of this gear lever could be improved. You get 2 wireless charging slots in the front, a nice long AC vent for the passenger, a wraparound AC vent here as well for the driver. In terms of looks, very, very nice. In the center console, you also have your key, and that sits magnetically over here, which is nice. The build quality itself feels nice. Everything feels solid. There's not too much of a shake in the center console. There is a bit of give, but I don't think it's too bad. I also really like the fact that you have this large storage space underneath this central console, and it really makes it feel like a cutting-edge EV. I really appreciate the lengths Mahindra has gone to make this cabin look and feel very, very new. We're going to quickly hop to the back and show you what the space is like. Now we're in the rear seat of the B6E, and this is where I feel there are some shortcomings of the car. So firstly, I don't have much space to tuck my legs underneath the front seat because I personally like my front seat to be nice and low. I'm 5 feet 11 inches, by the way. Knee room is okay. I have about an inch and a half, a couple of inches of knee room, which is fine. Headroom is also just right. The only thing is the window line is very low. As you can see, it's below my head. So when you're getting into the car, you need to be a little careful if you're a taller person, where you don't hit your head on this windowsill. It's got a flat-ish bench, so there is a bit of a hump in it, but it's almost flat, and you can very easily sit here in the center as well. And because of the flat floor, it's quite comfortable. These AC vents are designed very coolly. You wouldn't look at it and say that these are AC vents. It almost looks like a heat sink. You have a storage pocket for your phone back there. You have a Type-C charging port on the back of both the seats. And this is actually for the BYOD, as Mahindra is calling it, which is bring your own device. So you have a place to dock your device here, and then you can charge it via this, which is cool. You have an armrest with 2 cup holders. And unlike the XEV, this is actually a nice height and it comes forward nicely. 16 speaker Harman Kardon sound system, which is fantastic, absolutely banging, really, really great sound. There's also the glass, which is laminated and UV protected for the roof and the side windows. So again, Mahindra is saying 99.5% of UV rays will not be entering into the cabin, which is great. It means that when you reach your car after it's been parked in the sun, it should not have a boiling hot cabin, which also means that you will not be sacrificing a lot of range in getting the cabin to cool down. So it's all in the name of efficiency. One last thing is this headrest, which does not look like an adjustable headrest, is an adjustable headrest. I appreciate Mahindra going to such lengths to hide the headrest and make it look nice and flush when it's not in use. But of course, for safety, if there is someone sitting here in the center, they have the option of adjusting their headrest. And I think that brings me to the end of the hardware section of this video. Let's now talk about software. We'll start the software part of the B6E with the ADAS. So I have the lane keep assist on, and I'm going to leave the steering, and it's supposed to keep me centered in the lane. Yes, it is getting me to the center of the lane, and it works really well. The lane centering function was something that impressed me in the XEV9E as well. Cruise control is on, and I can do a lane change. It just says keep your hands on the steering wheel, and it just did the lane change on its own, which is really cool. Sure, it doesn't do it when there's something approaching behind you. It is overly cautious, but it's a computer system. It better be overly cautious. Like with the XEV9E, the only problem is when someone cuts into your lane, even at a distance, or when someone cuts across your lane, even at a distance, then the car has its alarms going off, and it does not appreciate that. Aside from that, the ADAS gets a thumbs up, but there is a lot more software in the car, and that's to do with the screen. So let's talk about that. So response is good. The problem is that there's too many icons that are very small, too many menus, and things are just all over the place. For example, the settings menu does not have the settings for your lights. So if you want to change your light settings, like for example, that light shut off delay, like when you lock the car when the lights stay on, that is in a different menu which is under the My Vehicle setting, and that's also where you can change your heads up display settings. Why is that not in the settings or in the drive assist menu, right? So I just feel like things are all over the place, and someone needs to just sit down and say this should go here, this should go here, this should go here, and simplify things. The features are there, the capability is there, it just needs to be sort of refined down. One thing that's nice is the instrument cluster. It's nice, clean, crisp. I can see the kilometer per hour, I can see the range, I can see the power I'm putting down, I can see my odometer, I can see the time, I can see the temperature. It's all really crisp, clear information. This is how I like my information given to me. So whether it's digital dials or analog, I prefer analog. But when it's digital dials, I like the fact that the information is given nice and clear. And yeah, I think that's about it when it comes to software. I think the product itself is just very clear on what it wants to do. It's a sporty electric SUV that is focused on the driver. So it is definitely stiff, and when you're going to hit bumps and potholes, you're definitely going to feel those bumps and potholes. It's not going to be a magic carpet ride, and definitely not going to be as comfortable as the XEV9E. Firstly, I think Mahindra's killed it with the pricing. 18.9 lakh rupees starting price for the 59 kilowatt hour variant. This of course is the 79 kilowatt hour variant. We'll know the full price list very, very soon. Deliveries again for this also will begin in Feb or March 2025. Of course, if you're going to talk about safety, you do have 6 airbags as standard, and Mahindra is very confident this is also going to get 5 stars in the NCAP crash safety rating, and since it's Mahindra, I'm going to trust them on that. So design and safety are sorted, then performance is really sorted. 0 to 100 in less than 7 seconds for this 79 kilowatt hour variant is fantastic. It gets rear wheel drive. Gaurav Gill was drifting this thing like a madman. Then I thought I'll try my hand at it as well, and hopefully we can put some pictures in as to how that went. And it went pretty well. This thing can drift, man. Like, this thing can drift. A 19-20 lakh rupee Mahindra electric SUV that can drift. And I mean like drift, smoky slides. That makes me smile. So yeah, I think because this is less of a head purchase and more of a heart purchase, it's easier to say the B6C. Man, it is 6C, and usually I would walk out of the frame, but now I'm getting back and driving it. Say I made it. No regrets, don't fake it. 'Cause I believe it. I'm gonna do it on my own.